Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the New Nation Podcast. I'm your host, Mike. I also want to wish you a happy feast day, St. Paul of Thebes. Today is a popular American secular holiday, a federal holiday for Martin Luther the King Jr., but I don't celebrate that. I don't acknowledge that man. He's not to be celebrated. We'll go into a couple of reasons why a little bit later in the show. But yes, let's focus on a Catholic saint who is to be venerated today, and that's St. Paul of Thebes, whose life of solitude and penance gave inspiration to the monastic movement during its early years. We also have a snow day here in Tennessee. Overnight, we got around, I would say, a nice conservative estimate of 4 to 5 inches of snow. My daughter and I, we went sledding out in our backyard. It was absolutely fantastic. We have a gigantic backyard. It's about an acre or two that's shared among a couple of houses on our block, and perfect hills. I'd say about like a 30 to 40 degree incline. So that was fun. She went sledding for the first time. Really fun time. And I think around the country, there's some cold fronts moving in, some snow. So if you guys are out there, wishing you a happy snow day. And the baby's crying out there. The baby's probably getting his diaper changed, if you can hear that. I don't know if you can, but what have we got going on today and in the world? I wanted to answer some of your questions received on Instagram. I was also speaking to the lovely Mary Morgan of the Pop Culture is a Crisis podcast. She does that via Timcast, and she's probably going to come on soon. She's looking to do some podcasts in February, so hopefully we can get you, Mary. It might still be an audio podcast, and see, this is what I'm struggling. I like doing these audio podcasts. The pressure just isn't there. It's just a microphone and my laptop. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to edit. It's so easy to put out and upload. I understand that you guys want to see things, but if you have Spotify, if you have Apple Podcasts, if you have Amazon Music, I think it's streaming there. You can get the RSS feed on any one of those like podcast generators where you don't necessarily need one Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that. But I think I want to do all of them audio. That way you just put it on. You don't have to worry about it, especially if you have Spotify Premium. You don't have to worry about ads. I will probably start selling ad space pretty soon. But I think you guys have been really receiving the podcast pretty well. And I think we have close to 1,000 downloads of each episode right now, which is awesome. Thank you. Oh, poor baby. He does not like getting his diaper changed, and I feel for him. That's a new thing with the little boys. You got to cover their wieners with another wipe so that they don't pee in your face as you're changing them. So we're going to get into some questions that some of you guys asked on Instagram. It's not going to be too long of a podcast just because there's not really too much. We'll look on X. We'll see what's happening. Here we go. The first one. This is from Gwen's. Do you think people... what is this? Do you think people Nick Fuentes go... Oh, maybe do you think people like... I understand that the format to ask questions on Instagram, it doesn't really give you a lot of characters. So do you think people like Nick Fuentes go overboard in their rhetoric sometimes and cause harm? No, I mean, I don't think so, because there's really no evidence of any of the rhetoric causing harm. And what also happens is any clips that you see of his that go viral or that are posted by places like Media Matters or Right Wing Watch, they're always clipped out of context. Now, you might say, well, I've watched it and there was just 4 minutes straight of him talking. Okay, well, what's the context before and after? You'd have to listen to the whole episode. And there are a lot of things that I'm sure he says are hyperbolic or that are meant to be provocative, I'm sure. But I don't think that it's necessarily damaging or that it's causing harm. I think there are other people who definitely cause a lot more harm than Nick. So I don't know. The answer to that is no. I don't think it causes any sort of harm whatsoever. I thought about this. Favorite Catholic sacramental other than holy water and a rosary? That's interesting. Favorite Catholic sacramental. If I have to just think over the top of my head, I mean, I think my brown scapular is probably next after my rosary? Yeah, I think so. Maybe. Let's see what the sacramentals are. Ashes, holy water, palms, crucifixes, rosaries, holy cards, lit candles, and all things, persons, and places blessed to praise God for his gifts. Yeah, probably my scapular, my brown scapular. I'm consecrated to Mary. That's probably my favorite after the rosary. My mother brought back holy water from Italy. I can't remember if she brought it back from Sicily or when they were in Rome on their way back to the States. I can't remember. I have the holy water here. Hold on. I'm getting the holy water because there's a sticker that says where it's from. So let's see. Let's see here. This is holy water from Rettoria St. Vincenzo e Anastasio a Fontana de Trevi. Oh, okay. So I guess that's from the Trevi fountain. But blessed, and while we're here, if we have the holy water, we might as well bless ourselves, right? Yeah, that's nice. Oh, I also like incense. We sat a couple of weeks ago. My daughter and I went to church, and we sat maybe second row back from the front, and we were doused with the incense, and I loved it. A lot of people aren't as comfortable with the incense, including my wife. So when we went, we actually went as a family, full family, for the first time yesterday, the four of us, and the incense wasn't too heavy, but she was still affected by it. Though during the gospel reading, there was a new altar server, who was going back and forth with the incense during the gospel instead of kind of side to side, and the back and forth really didn't fill it up as much as the side to side was. Sacramental. So yeah, my brown scapular, my rosaries, my holy water. I do have some saint candles. I'm trying to think about what else I have here in the office as I'm looking around. I have some amazing holy cards, some saint cards. Yeah, there's not too much, but yeah, that answers that, I suppose. Let's see here. So I'm going forward. I'm not going to be answering any questions about IDG. Just not doing it, not touching on that. I've moved on. We've moved on. Seriously contemplating, taking down all the YouTube videos, but you guys have asked me to keep them up, so they'll stay up. But other than that, I'm not going to answer questions. It's because it's touchy. You know what I mean? Like a kind of relationship ended, so I don't want to get into it. So we're going to skip that. The myths and truths about trad Catholics. That's from Saint Wave. Well, see, I'm not too familiar with the trad Catholics, especially online, because I think they're getting a bad rap. I assume it's just because of the infighting amongst each other, because when you think of the phrase a traditional Catholic, like what do you think about? You think about someone who attends the TLM, younger, maybe, male. But, a traditional Catholic for me is anybody who, holds to the tenets and teachings and doctrines of the church, someone who frequents Mass, someone who is trying to live out his or her life, like Christ would. And, I don't know. So the Twitter sphere and the online space among trad Caths, quote unquote, is something that I'm not all too familiar about, because there is an idea of a trad Cath in my head if I'm online, and then there's another idea of a traditional Catholic in my head. So I like to separate those two. So I don't qualify myself as a trad Cath. I would qualify myself as a traditional Catholic. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know. Myths and truths about them. Probably, I don't know what the myths about them would be. Would the myth be that I don't know. Try and qualify that question a little bit more, and I can answer it on the next one. Do's and don'ts of pursuing women, the best movies for Okay. Do's and don'ts for pursuing women. Okay, I can do that. Do act chivalrous. Don't act narcissistically. Okay, there's a big difference between narcissism and confidence. Okay. Um, it's very hard to learn charm. I think one's upbringing as far as men, that is, I don't know if charm is necessarily taught or learned. I think you're born with it. And I was someone who thankfully was born with a lot of charm. I remember I went on a date in LA in 2016. It was maybe 2016 or early 2017. And I went out with a woman who was a little bit older than me. Very pretty. We went out, had a couple drinks. And through the course of the date, politics started to come out slowly. And by the end of the date, she said to me, I agree with absolutely nothing you've said this far, but you're very charming, so it makes it very hard for me to dislike you. And I said, oh, that's very interesting. I think we went on one more date, and that was it. It ended there because this is a crazy story. I was staying with a friend in like Koreatown, the Koreatown area bordered with the, what's the area by Larchmont? I forget that area, but it was very close to that area. I was staying in this guy's apartment, and this woman living in the apartment, this young woman, had this sort of like mental breakdown, like this really severe psychotic episode, and was just going nuts. And it was kind of crazy. So on the second date with this woman, the one who said I was so charming, I was telling her this story, and the woman saying, "Is this girl's name so-and-so?" And I said, "Yeah." And she says, "Oh, that's my sister." And I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, my sister's not well. She just started living on her own again." And that kind of fizzled that relationship out. I don't remember her. I don't remember her name. I remember her. I don't remember her name. I remember she also had a daughter, which is something that don't pursue women with kids. Just as a young man, start your own family. If you're older, later in life, and you're married, and let's say it's like your wife dies or something like that, or you have a wedding, or you have a marriage annulled, and you meet someone else around your age that same sort of situation, is a widow or something like that, then yes, you can pursue those women. But as a young single man who's never been married or engaged, don't pursue the older women, especially women with kids. Start your own family. Though I get it. It's a very gallant and it's a very admirable thing to do when you adopt and when you become responsible for a child. That I'm not saying that I admonish that or I discourage that in any way, but I recommend starting one's own family. Okay, what are some other do's and don'ts of pursuing women? Do pay for the meal, for the date. Do that. That's obvious. Try not to. There are times when you should talk about yourself. Obviously, two people getting to know each other, you should talk about yourself. But don't overshare. Don't go in too deep too early. You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Yeah. Try not to let it all out at once. You don't want to scare anyone away. Yeah. Do not speak of your family negatively. Even, if you and your family don't get along, try not to speak of them negatively. Like I said, don't go too deep too early. Let that stuff kind of come out, pace yourself. So yeah, don't overshare. Do pay for meals. Oh, this is a big one. And I don't know if this is like in the realm of pursuing women, but this is kind of like general date, sort of behavior, or what do they call it? Not behavior, but what do you call it? What's the word when you're trying to, you do it with cutlery on the table? This is how you do things. Manners, date manners, I guess. Stand up. When she goes to the bathroom or if she needs to excuse herself from the table, stand up. And when she returns, stand up and help her with her chair. That's awesome. Girls nowadays will not expect that. They might be a little confused by it at first, but it's such an old school move and it's really, really good. Same thing with the car doors. Open the car door, always do the Bronx tail thing. Well, that's if the car doors have that lock, but the whole Bronx tail thing is you let the girl in on the passenger side, then you go around the back, and if she unlocks the door for you by, popping up the little lock there, she's a good one. Never pull up to the house and honk the horn and say that you're there or text that you're there. Park your car, walk to the door. Same thing when you're dropping her back off. Walk her to the door. Don't expect anything. My thing in life is, with anything, lower your expectations. Okay. I would also say on the first kiss, or on the first date, don't kiss. Looking back on that now, don't do it. But this is pursuing girls, so you have to have a checklist or some sort of checklist, I guess, on what you're looking for in a woman in order to start pursuing her. Physically, mentally, what kind of woman are you attracted to? What kind of woman do you like? There's the physicality is very important. But obviously, you're not going to have a physical relationship yet. We want to hold that off for later down the line, and especially a sexual one that happens after marriage. If you can do that, if that's something that the both of you want to pursue, that's great. If not, I understand that. I can't control your life. I can only recommend what I can recommend. And I think the better thing is, why don't you wait on that stuff? Get to know the person more. Isn't that so much more intimate? Getting to know somebody intimately on a non-physical level. I think that when that time for intimacy comes, it's going to be so much better. Isn't that going to be nice? It's going to be nice. So yeah, pursuing women. I don't know. I've never really had problems pursuing women, if that makes any sense. If I ever saw a girl that I was interested or liked, I just kind of, buttoned up my tie and buttoned up my top button and just kind of went in there, and went into battle. I wasn't scared to talk to women. I wasn't scared to pursue women. I understand online it's a little bit different now. You have them available at your fingertips. But if I'm talking to the audience I think I'm talking to, you guys want to do this in a real life situation. So if you see a girl who you like, go up to her, introduce yourself. Say, like to get a coffee, or would you like to go out for a meal? Can I take you out for a meal? Don't do like a thing. Don't go to like a thing. Don't go to a show. You know what I mean? Don't go to a concert. Don't go to a movie. Have a cup of coffee. Go to dinner. Go to lunch. And then as the dates progress, you guys can do things that you're both interested in. Because at first, listen, I've done so many first date movies. Dumb. I did it with my wife. Dumb. I would have gone back in time. I would have changed that. But she's my wife now, so should ask my wife, what did I do to pursue her? I guess. I don't know. I like that. Okay. The best movies for Catholics that are non-religious. I mean, it's just, there's so many. We all know I'm going to talk about Prisoners, okay? The best movies for Catholics that are non-religious. Well, we can talk about what I've seen recently. I talked about on the first podcast that The Holdovers was great. So if you can, check out The Holdovers, not a religious movie. But I mean, if it's not religious, what are there things that we should avoid? Sure. Avoid gratuitous sex, maybe avoid gratuitous violence, because violence can be done really well. Like gratuitous violent movies, they're not as entertaining. They just aren't. Like Bloodfest for the sake of Bloodfest isn't good. Horror movies, I'd also avoid those, especially anything that is overtly demonic. That's the thing. I mean, one of the best movies for Catholics that isn't necessarily, I mean, it is a religious movie. The Exorcist is a religious movie. It's about an exorcism. But the Ninth Configuration, really good movie. That has to do with good and evil, though. And it was written by the same guy who wrote The Exorcist. The Parallax View. That's a good movie. Movies from the 70s, like 70s crime dramas, like Thief, even though I think Thief with James Caan was 1980. But Thief, The American Friend, The Parallax View, 3 Days of the Condor, The Conversation, what else? The French Connection. Those movies are awesome. Those are some awesome movies. I actually just watched The Conversation the other day for the first time in full. I'd seen it a while ago, like bits and pieces. Francis Ford Coppola's favorite movie, he said, and that was done after The Godfather. He'd been wanting to make that movie forever, but after The Godfather proved itself such a financial success and cultural success, the studios just said, yeah, you can do whatever you want. But The Conversation is a good movie, and the character that Gene Hackman plays is actually a Catholic because he goes to confession, but then he has outer marital relations with a woman. It's actually a couple different women, so I mean, how Catholic can you be? Good movie though. The Parallax View is great. Like if you like government sort of CIA spy thrillers, they couldn't do that movie today. Parallax View. That's with what's his name? The guy who did Dick Tracy. What's his name? Who the heck was this guy? Oh boy. Let's see if it comes to me before I type it in. Who was it? Warren Beatty. It was Warren Beatty. Yep. Yeah, I forgot about that. The Deer Hunter. A lot of these types of movies go to the 70s. I think the 70s was such a great decade for film. Really, really a lot of good stuff there. What else? What other movies? I mean, if you talk about modern day movies, I just really haven't watched too many modern day movies. Let me go to Letterboxd on my phone and see if those were the only questions for Instagram anyway. But let's see what's popular this week. Saltburn, don't watch it. Society of the Snow, good movie for Catholics. It's about if you've ever seen that movie Alive, about the sports team whose plane goes down on a mountain and they kind of eat each other in order to survive. This is the true story. This is the Spanish version. So I think it's like a Uruguayan rugby team that gets stranded in the Andes Mountains after their plane goes down. And I won't go into it too much, but that was a good movie. Poor Things, I heard really bad things about. Let's see. What have I seen? Barbie. It's not necessarily a good movie for Catholics. We enjoyed it, but in a different way. I talked about Anatomy of Fall. I talked about Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Killers of the Flower Moon. We watched this movie, Self-Reliance. This was actually a good movie for Catholics. It's about a guy who broken up with his girlfriend. He lives a sort of mundane life where everything's pretty redundant, and this limo pulls up to him, and it's Andy Samberg, and he says, "Hey, come in the limo." And the guy says, "You Andy Samberg?" He says, "Yeah." So he says, "If you can survive 30 days of being hunted by people who are trying to kill you, you win $1 million." And the guy says, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." So they go to the creators of this show, of this I don't know what it's called, of this trial of will or whatever it is. And the creator says, "Yep, you have to survive 30 days. There's only a loophole that if you are with someone, the hunters can't kill you, and they have to be within striking distance, the person who you're with, so like 3 feet or something like that." So this guy enlists the help of a homeless person, and it's played by Jake Johnson, who does a really good job, Jake Johnson from New Girls. But he hires a homeless guy, and then he meets a girl in Anna Kendrick and says, "Hey, do you want to do this?" She's playing the game too. Really, really fun movie. I don't get Anna Kendrick. I don't understand her appeal. Because with leading ladies, they're supposed to be attractive, right? I don't find her attractive whatsoever. I'm not being rude. It's just someone I don't find attractive. If anybody else, please let me know. I do not know. I don't get the appeal. But Self-Reliance, that was a good one. That's on Hulu. Let's see what other people are talking about. Popular with friends. Okay, I only have one friend on Letterboxd anyway. But yeah, look at all those movies, especially the movies from the 70s. The Godfather. Non-religious, great movie. Just The Godfather's 1 and 2, and The Godfather 1, obviously the original. That's the best. That's the best you can do. So yeah, let's see what's happening on X here. Michael Knowles posted, "Who wins Iowa? Trump, Haley, DeSantis, or Vivek?" I mean, it's a poll. I don't want to vote on it. Obviously, Trump is winning. But things that are happening on X, let's talk about it. Every one of these liberal and leftist accounts, and I'm going to poo-poo on the new evangelicals again, Tim, who I don't know if this guy actually believes the stuff that he writes. I mean, he has to, right? But it's horrible. But people like the new evangelicals, the people in that ilk of progressive, what do they call it? Deconstructing Christians or whatever that means. I have no idea what that means. I guess it's like they're not Christians anymore, but then all they do is still talk about scripture and Christianity, but they're not Christians, and they all have had bad experiences of people who've hurt them in the church, but they're still, I have no idea what's going on with them, but they're all venerating Martin Luther King today. And let's just, a little bit of a reminder, who Martin Luther King was. He was an avowed communist, a Marxist who was trained here in Tennessee. There's some Marxist schools, training grounds. He employed Marxists and Jews as speechwriters and people who were advisors who were close to him. He was a known philanderer, cheated on his wife multiple times, I think over 40 cases of infidelity. There's that famous case of him being heard laughing at a woman who was being sexually assaulted in front of him. What else? Beat his wife when, compared to Malcolm X, they said that he's a monk. Malcolm X is a monk compared to King. And he denied the Trinity, the most important thing. He denied the Trinity. So Martin Luther King, these people, especially these secular people who, the American government venerates as modern saints, is just egregious. It's horrible. And, the more people that wake up to it, the better. I think a lot of younger people are starting to understand this. I got a DM because I posted the same thing on Instagram, and I got a DM from someone who I thought was going to rip me a new one, but he actually thanked me for posting it because he said, I thought I was the only one who saw through the BS of Martin Luther King Jr. But yeah, we don't celebrate that day today. What else can we see here? What's going on X? There's a lot of people. A lot of people just mad at each other. That's basically what X is. A lot of people are just kind of yelling at each other, going back and forth. Too bad. Oh, there was this. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw this video. It's horrible. It's going back and forth about this woman who said, "Come and plate my 1-year-old's plate of breakfast." And what she did was she opened a bag of Hostess mini powdered donuts. She took out 3 of them, cut them in quarters, and then did like one of those applesauce plastic packs that I guess the kids can, eat through the whatever. And I showed and the woman the woman is overweight, sloppy, looks horrible. Just putting it on a plastic, like a Tupperware top. That's what the plate was. And then just gives it to her kid who's just sitting on a trampoline, like not even at a table, no drink, no nothing, just hands it to her and says, "That's it." I said, "That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. You wonder why these kids are so sick and autistic all the time." You know what my daughter has for breakfast every morning? She has homemade protein pancakes that I think are probably gluten-free with sunflower butter, and then my wife makes homemade blueberry jam once a week for her. That goes on top of the pancakes, and then she has a protein with that. So she has either chicken sausage or grass-fed beef sausage, to the pork sausage. Not to say that wouldn't stop me, but I actually really do like the beef sausage links. They taste like ground beef, and I do enjoy them. And she has that with her mineralized water, and that's her breakfast. Her lunch can be anywhere from avocado toast to what does she have? Avocado toast, blueberry muffin, and something else. It's mostly avocado toast, I think. Yeah. What does she eat for lunch? I don't know. And then dinner is, when I tell you, my daughter eats more steak than anyone I know. So when we go food shopping, we can find small like New York strips or top sirloin or anything like that. Usually we can find some for like, $4 a piece. So we'll get, 2 or 3 of those. And then, my wife and I will go for the thicker New York strips. But this girl eats so much steak. She loves it. She loves steak. So I think she has steak anywhere 3, 4, 5 times a week. It's insane. She usually has her steak with a little bit of rice, a little bit of pasta. She has some good stuff for her gut, so we pair that with a little bit of sauerkraut that she has. And great. Bowel movements, fantastic. Oh, here's what I wanted to say. Okay, speaking of bowel movements, can anyone please DM me, please email me if you have a toddler who is successfully potty trained. I'm doing everything for this kid to try and get her. She pooped on the potty once 6 months ago, and she hasn't looked back. She has not done it again. We were so proud, so supportive. What she does is she will come up to us and she says, "Lock me in my room." And that means I have to go poop my pants. I have to go poop my underwear. We had pull-ups on her, not using pull-ups anymore. So it's just underwear now. So now I started saying, okay, well, maybe at least go to daddy's bathroom because we have like the little toilet seat cover that she can go on. So now she'll say, lock me in the bathroom. She's doing it at least next to a toilet, but she refuses. I've done everything. I've done, here are prizes, you can have chocolate chips. If you go to the potty, if you poop in the potty, you can do this. You can go outside and play, all this kind of stuff. You can get toys. She won't do it. She won't do it. I said, hey, how about you sit on the potty and we'll watch The Good Dinosaur together, but we'll only watch it for 10 minutes. So you have to poop on the potty. And she'll say, okay, she'll sit on the potty, but she won't poop. I'll say, okay, kind of poop. We have about 5 minutes left. She won't do it. It's not that it's driving my wife and I crazy, but my wife is changing diapers, and now I'm, handling this. We were talking to a friend of mine, and I think Carly was like, yeah, Mike can maybe change one diaper. And the friend, or it was either my mom or a friend who was like, you've only changed one diaper? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm dealing with my toddler who's pooping her pants twice a day. So I'm dealing with that. So if anybody has had any successful potty training stories, please reach out to me, DM me, email me, and let me know what you did. I know that all kids are different. I know that all kids do it on their own time, but somebody, please help me. Help me, please. I am in desperate need of it. What else have we got here? Can't see, just scrolling on X. There was something else that I think I saw on X that someone was blaming the boomers for the situation that the country's in now. Financial situation, cultural situation, whatever. I don't think, this might be controversial. I don't necessarily think that it is solely the boomers' faults. I think it's the greatest generation. I think it might be that generation's fault for coddling and spoiling these boomers. So here's, and I don't know if Gavin echoed something similar to this or Nick, but you have the greatest generation who was involved in the Depression, okay, where the vast majority of them either were out of work or worked menial jobs in order to provide for their family. I mean, a lot of people stood on bread lines. So this work ethic was instilled in these people. World War II happens. A lot of them go off to war, yeah? World War II ends, you get the GI Bill, you get people in the early 50s who are now leaving cities. They're starting these suburbs, Levittowns and stuff like that. They're building these communities, and it's going well. These people now, they're working at, let's say like they're working at the Fords of America, those types of places where, you can have a job either on an assembly line, working in an office, door-to-door sales job, and these people are making a good living where you can buy a house, you can have a car, you can have the 2.5 kids and the 2 cars in the garage and the dog, and you're not really worried about much, and you're getting your pension money together, your retirement money. And what they do is they allow their children to go to college and to waste their lives in getting these degrees, whether it's philosophy degrees, any of these social science degrees, they set the stage for where we're at now, right? So these greatest generation people have coddled the boomers, where the boomers are just so spoiled, where they don't try to emulate the work of their fathers, so to say, where they don't really go for the hard job or for the trades or the success of their parents, where they just become complacent. They get involved in academia. Free love happens, and these people who created free love, they weren't they weren't the boomers. They were the people out of this greatest generation. Okay, you have people like who started the LSD movements, who started the drug movements. Like, these people weren't necessarily boomers at the time. So I think a lot of the responsibility and, the people we can point our fingers at, even though we don't like it, even though it's controversial to say, but, the greatest generation, and I don't want to lay all the blame on the boomers. There are some good boomers. My father, my parents, good boomers, hardworking all throughout, learned that from his parents, but a lot of the other ones, vast majority of them, wastes of space, didn't need them, don't need them, and that's where you get the Gen X types and the Millennial types, and now you got the Gen Zers. What are these? What is this generation? My son is what? Generation Alpha? Something like that? Zeta? I don't know. Who knows? Happy Monday. happy feast of, who is it? St. Paul of Thebes. That's it. That is all. See you next time.